So once again, I welcome you guys to another amazing event that has been curated especially to give you an edge in this world, in this sphere of technology and advancements, AI, data that we find ourselves in today. Welcome to this webinar, our Career Insights webinar. And as you guys have seen from the PR that has been going around, we are going to be looking into the big picture, how data actually works in DevOps and cloud engineering, in tech generally, if you will. Who do we have in the house today to take us through this journey? It's none other than Favor Onyeneke. This is a personal friend of mine, actually, and she's pretty amazing. She's a DevOps and cloud engineer herself, who's been engaged in so many wonderful projects. First and foremost, she graduated with a 4.0 from her tech journey. She's also been involved in so many wonderful projects. One was leading a team of about 20 people on a platform for artisans, and she on a software platform, and she made sure she saw it from beginning to end. She's very interested in growth. She's very interested in scaling, and she's done all of this while still being a student. So I think that's pretty amazing. So without so much ado anymore, I am going to welcome our speaker, Miss Favor Onyeneke. You're welcome. Give her a round of applause, everybody. Just tap that clap button. Tap, tap, tap. Let's make her feel welcome. Let's make her feel welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Victor. Also, before we start, I think some people want to join. They are reaching out to me, and I don't think
Okay,
your
I'm sorry.
line is.
I wasn't looking at my screen. Yeah, I'm in the admitting mode now. All right.
Hi, thank you. Welcome everyone to this webinar. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so I'll be sharing my slide. Let me share my screen. Okay, so what is data? What exactly is data? I'm sure most of us will have heard the word data. I mean, data is everywhere. It's a common word. It's said every time. Or I would today's topic will be telling you how data is used in DevOps and cloud engineering. So what is data? Data is raw information collected from the real world that can be processed to gain meaning and make decisions. That's basically data, as simple as that. They are raw facts, they are information that can be analyzed, that can be understood to make decisions. Okay. Then what is cloud computing? I'm defining these terms, so when I am using them in the on the webinar, you guys won't be confused in any way. Cloud computing is basically computing resources that are available over the internet without managing physical servers. It's as the simplest form. Basically computing resources available over the internet. For example, for instance, computing resources like storage. When we all, I don't know, we all have laptops, we all have devices, and one thing that comes with devices is storage. So that's a resource. Okay, let me give another instance. You want to do a project that requires, let's say, 120 gig RAM, and your computer is just 60 gig RAM. Would you start looking for a way to swap your system, or trying to buy a new device? No, you can actually get an amount of storage over the internet. That's basically cloud computing. Anything you can get, even to the extent of your operating system. Most of us use Linux on Windows. Those things are not magic. They are just resources that are available over the internet. And that's basically cloud computing. Any resource, any cloud, any computing resource you can access over the internet is basically cloud computing. Yeah, as simple as that. Then DevOps. DevOps is, it is named Developer Operations. DevOps is, you can't talk about DevOps without talking about SDLC, which is Software Development Lifecycle. It's basically, okay, let me first define it as it is here. DevOps is a way of working that improves how software is built, deployed, and maintained through collaboration and automation. It is basically taking a product from point A to point B. And what is that product? A software product. For instance, we all use this Google Meet we're using. It is not magic. It was first developed by developers, then deployed for us to be able to access it, for us to use it as a platform for calls. So how did this product, which is Google Meet, get from the developer to us as the consumers or as the end users? It went through a process. And that process is basically DevOps, as simple as it is. That's why we call it, that's why we can't talk about DevOps, start talking about SDLC, which is Software Development Lifecycle. These products go through a cycle for it to be able to reach end users and consumers. So that process, just have it in mind, those tools we use to take a software product from point A to point B is known as DevOps. So now let's enter into what we're here for mainly. I would like to categorize the use of data in DevOps into categories. One is data for DevOps and DevOps for data, which is also known as DataOps. Data for DevOps is basically using data to improve the DevOps process. DevOps teams use data from their operations to gain actionable insights, track progress, and improve the software development and delivery process. While DevOps for data, we'll get back to this. I'll be talking about the first category here. Okay. If you guys can still see my screen, just send the reaction. Thank you. All right, data for DevOps. One, we have monitoring and observability. Monitoring and observability is a DevOps process, a very important DevOps process. After your software is built, it is still being monitored. For instance, we use social media, a lot of social media softwares, TikTok, Instagram. We're using them, they're fine. We're gaining the most from them. The companies now say, okay, since users or consumers are already using our product, let's sack everybody. No, because that product is still being monitored. It still has to be monitored by teams to make sure nothing happens, to make sure it's still performing at its best capacity. So monitoring and observability is very important. And how does data come in? Data from performance monitoring, logs, infrastructure health is analyzed to ensure smooth operation. I don't know if there's any other DevOps person here or cloud person, but mostly these cloud providers have a way to monitor your servers. I think AWS uses CloudWatch, while I think GCP uses Cloud Monitor. Azure, Microsoft should use Cloud Monitor. This cloud service all have monitoring service embedded in their service because they know how important it is to monitor your product. So these tools, these services, they all come in form of data. You read the metrics, you read the dashboard, you analyze the dashboard, you read the logs. Those things are data that helps you know how your server is doing. to help you know if there is any, if your server is experiencing any downtime, to help you know your server is at its best capacity, is performing absolutely well. That is how data is important in monitoring and observability. Two, we have feedback loops. I can't even stress on how feedback loops is important. Have you guys come across a site, immediately you even enter a new site or a site that you've not used, and they're already asking if you want to accept or reject cookies? How many of us have come across something like that? Cookies. All right. Those cookies, they are not just there for fancy. Oh. Companies, software companies ask you those questions in form of, in a way to collect data from you. That shows you how important data is. Even when you're already using the software or the platform, before you even finish exploring, they're already asking you to take surveys. They're already asking you to, some even go as far as offering incentives just to get data from you. That's how important data is. They want to know how you saw the app. They want to know, okay, if they are doing something wrong. They want to know if they are doing something right. So they ask for your feedback. And this feedback are data to them. Very important data that they use to improve their, sorry guys, give me a sec. These data are used to improve their softwares, their platform. It is very crucial. Feedback is, I mean, companies feed on feedback. That's how they know they are doing something right, or they know what to improve, or they know feedback, and this feedback is data. So I hope you guys are catching how data is important, how data is important for DevOps. Thirdly, we have predictive analysis. Predictive analysis, it basically involves prediction. Okay, AI and ML models, that's AI and machine learning models, can analyze historical deployment and performance to predict potential failures. Do you think do you think AI models or even you as a person can predict without data? People will study patterns. Teams, DevOps engineers, team leads, they will study patterns to know, okay, if we go through this route, there may be a failure or the deployment will not work as required. These predictions that are made is because of data. They're able to make predictions because of data. So instead of waiting for failures, models can analyze data and know that, okay, this pattern will not end well or this pattern will end badly. So they are able to predict and know that, okay, let's not go through this route, and it saves a lot of time, saves energy, saves money. Prediction helps to save a lot of time, money, a lot of resources in a company. So data is very important. I can't even stress on how important data is. Then data-driven decision making. Every decision, okay, metrics and analysis from the development process itself helps team make informed decision. I mean, companies, software, there are tricks if they make decisions out the top of their head. They make decisions with data. All their decisions, all decisions made should be data driven. You can't just make random decisions and expect the company to scale. You have to make decisions based on data. When you make decisions based on data, it helps build reliability, feature turnaround time, and overall a good software, a good platform. Then let's move on, which is the second category, DevOps for data, also known as DataOps. DevOps for data or DataOps is basically using DevOps principles in the data lifecycle. Your data pipelines, anything as data scientist, data analyst, whatever you do in the data space, applying DevOps principles in data space is data ops. As simple as that. One DevOps principle we all know or we have is automation. You can't talk about DevOps, start talking about automation. We automate a lot of things from CI/CD pipelines to infrastructure as code, Terraform. Those platforms those tools instead are used to automate processes in DevOps. So you can't talk about DevOps without talking about automation. And automation now, how do we apply it as a DevOps process in data? Automating data pipelines, testing, deployment, and monitoring of data workflow. Data pipelines can be automated. Testing too can be automated. You don't have to have someone always coming. Okay, you want to be testing 3 times a week. When you automate this process, someone or anybody does not have to be coming 3 times a week to always test. Once this process is being automated, it saves a lot of time and resources. So automation, DevOps principles in data, version control, managing code, configurations, and even data itself in a version controlled system like Git. What does that mean? I don't know if all of us here are, tech people, maybe technical or not technical people, but most of us will have heard of version control. It's very popular. In fact, you can't be a developer and not know version control. It is basically saving your work in the cloud. For example, imagine you don't have, imagine you're not utilizing version control now, and okay, data pipeline in the data space, data engineers in a company, they had to make a decision. They probably made a mistake, did something they were not supposed to do. And everybody in the company, or even consumers, if the app is already available to the public, they're already complaining that this new improvement that was made is not nice. Exactly. Do you think they'll just leave it like that and let their company fail or fall to the ground? No, they will roll back to the previous version and now find out, okay, if they want to still improve or find new solutions. They would roll back to the previous. Imagine they didn't have anything to roll back to. I can't stress on how version control is very important, both in the developers world, in data world. Version control is as important as anything. So we don't even joke with that. Then monitoring. And before I forget to mention, version control is also a DevOps tool. Monitoring, like I said before, tracking data quality, pipeline performance, and model health to prevent data downtime. Monitoring is crucial in software development, in the data life cycle. Monitoring is important to track, to know if your pipeline is performing at its best capacity, to know if the data you guys have is quality, because we have good and bad data. Sorry for that, guys. We have good and bad data. So tracking your data quality is very important, and that involves monitoring. We have tools that do that to track data quality so as to prevent downtime, data downtime. So let's move on. Okay, security. As data flows faster, the risk increases. DataOps embeds access control, encryption, lineage tracking, and compliance checks directly into pipelines. You I don't even know if anybody will talk about data and not talk about security. Imagine your data was just out there for anyone to access. You're signing, your email address, your password, your sign up credentials. Imagine it was just there available to the public. It doesn't make sense. These data are being secured. Security is a DevOps principle. Applying it in data is now what we're discussing now. So as data flows, the risk increases. You can't joke with data and security. Security and data, in fact, they should come hand in hand, because data needs to be secured. It needs to be tracked. We need to know where our data is going. Some companies, they don't even joke with, they don't joke. It's as bad as some companies have, okay, companies create servers online. But some companies choose to have their data centers physically. They could as well have a cloud server that they use. But some still have their data physically, like they have a location where their data is still stored in a data center, because security is upmost to them. They know that they can't joke with some data. They're even scared of uploading those type of data online, so they have it physically with them. That shows you how security is very important. It's very crucial when you're dealing with data. Then finally, we have quality and testing. Implementing continuous testing, data validation, and quality checks within data pipelines. Data pipelines needs to be tested. They need to be tested for quality. They need to be tested for they need to be tested for breaches or glitches. They need to be tested that the data are in their best capacity. So implementing continuous testing, you can't just leave your data just to be flowing. You have to test your data. You have to know your data is validated. You have to know your data is, verified. You always have to test the quality of your data. I think that's the last point for data ops. Data ops is just simply DevOps, but for data. At this point, data is treated as a product. That's like a very simplified way. Key takeaways is one, we live in a data-driven world. No matter the tech field you are, no matter the tech field you are in, data is important everywhere. You need data for feedback, for prediction, you need data. Agriculture, and every field needs data. We thrive on data. So if you're in this community and you feel it's of no importance to you, I want you to know that data is important in even that field you're in. That is okay, your field is, you don't have to practically be, a data scientist or a data analyst to know that you need data, or a data engineer or a machine learning engineer to know that you need data. So data lives everywhere. While we are living in a data driven world. So the second key takeaway is good data management, smooth user experience. All those points I gave is just to emphasize on how data can be managed in the best way possible. And you know that once you're delivering good data, once your data is quality, equates to smooth user experience, equates to a software company that is running as it should. So I can't even stress that enough. Good data management is equals to smooth user experience. Then lastly, security is not optional. Security is not optional. Your data has to be protected in every way possible. That'll be all for this webinar. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you learned a lot from this session. I'll be accepting questions now. Can drop in your question. Feel free to ask questions or any question, even if you don't understand, just ask. Any point you want me to retract back to explain, I don't mind. Just ask.
Please let's give her a round of
I
applause. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Joshua.
okay. Thank you. That was nice explanation. I just had a few questions. First of all, data ops and cloud engineering. I did the same thing. That is my first one. And the second one is when you said you talked about that cookie acceptance request that some apps or some websites always give out. They'll be like, do you want to accept all cookies and everything? Do you mean, because I never actually understood what that meant. I just see that as soon as I accept, as soon as I decline. So like, do you mean that is the way for them asking, like, um for example, like, do you want to accept all cookies? It's just like a different way of saying, do you want us to have your data on, like, from our website, have everything you do on our system? Like, what do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if you asked my question.
Yeah, I'm just reiterating. You asked if data ops and cloud engineering is the same, right?
Yeah, they're the same. Yes.
Okay. So they are actually not the same. I explained what cloud computing is basically just computing resources available over the internet. Don't even overthink it. Any resource, any computing resource. What are your computing resource? Operating system, storage, hardware, computing resource generally that are available over the internet. That's basically cloud computing. How you can store your iCloud, your Google Photos, you're storing your photos there. That's cloud computing. These platforms you use as tools, it's cloud computing. Basically, servers, those servers you create online, cloud computing. So don't overthink it. All these things that I'm mentioning is just cloud computing. Cloud computing, that is it generally. Then data ops, like I said, is the same thing as DevOps, but this time for data, is applying DevOps principles in the data life. You as I don't know if you're a data engineer, or most people here are data engineers, data scientists, data analysts. When you begin to apply DevOps tools or DevOps principles in your data life cycle, in whatever you do in the in whatever you do in the data field, you're basically doing data ops. You can search for DevOps principles. You can search for DevOps tools. What do we do in DevOps? Automation, testing, deployment. When you start applying those processes in data, is basically data ops. Have I been able to simplify that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, so applying
Makes
DevOps
sense.
principles basically in data is known as data ops. So cloud engineering or cloud computing and data ops, they are two different things. Though you can still find way to relate them, but they are not the same. While accepting cookies is just basically giving these softwares or these websites that you enter, they are giving them permission to, you know, have a little bit of your information, have a little bit of your data. Probably they just ask you these things so they can have data about you as a user, whether they want to monitor you or monitor your activity, send you ads. If you notice, they also send apps, ads, advertisement in some of the software you use. So basically, for them to be able to send you those things, for them to be able to recommend things for you in their website, they have some data from you, and that data is basically the cookies they ask you to accept or reject. So when you give them permission, you've given them the is it the right, or you've given them the permission to send you those things, to send ads, to know you better as a user. So do you get that?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand now. Yeah.
All right. So those cookies can be used for different purposes. Whenever they ask you to accept or reject cookies, those cookies can be used for different purposes, whether it's to send you ads or to monitor you or to give you recommendations or to just know your preference as a user. So that's just it. And if you don't want it, you reject the cookies and you're fine.
Okay.
All right. So any other question? Let the questions come in.
All right, guys, that was amazing. That was explosive. Please, let's appreciate Miss Favor. Let's appreciate her. I have learned so much how data works in DevOps and cloud engineering. And I think even as a layperson, even if anyone here is a layperson, not necessarily a tech person or not necessarily a data inclined tech person, you can appreciate that data is very important, and not just how you can use it, but how you can protect yourself, how you can understand your environment, especially when you're being asked for certain data. Thank you once again, Miss Favor, for your insight, for your time, for your efforts in bringing this information, this encapsulation of information to us. We really enjoyed your class. And as you guys can see on our screen, if you have any requests for collaboration, for just anything, you can always reach out to her via her email currently displaying on the screen. I want to thank everyone once again. We're still hoping that there are more questions. Um, so we're just going to leave a couple minutes for that. So if you still have any question, if you're sitting on the fence, should I ask my question? Um, should I not? Please, we are encouraging you to actually ask the question. But if you feel also suggestions and contributions are very much accepted or welcome. So yeah, if you have any contribution to today's topic,
Please, can you hear me?
yes, I can, Mr. Austin.
So I really learned much in this. Thank you so much for the info. Um, I'm so excited for this. So I wanted to ask if a programming language has a role in this DevOps and data analytics, and if programming language has a role, which one would you recommend? Because I know there are a lot of programming languages.
All right. Okay, so you asked if programming language has a role, and what language would you recommend? Okay. Would I recommend? Firstly, I mentioned automation is very important in DevOps, and automation is done with a programming language, and most of everyone uses Python for automation. Not everyone though, but the most popular, the conversant one you would hear is Python. So in the DevOps and cloud field, you're expected to learn either bash scripting, or Python, but mostly Python because Python is more versatile and is more conversant. You would most usually work with Python. So Python is a programming language you get to learn in DevOps field. Yeah. Hope I answered your question.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Python. Thank you.
All right, Miss Favor, we have another question that came into the chat. So somebody said, my question is, what is the full meaning of DevOps?
Okay. The full meaning of DevOps is developer operation. Developer and operation. That's where the word is coined from. DevOps, developer and operation. Basically, why is it just DevOps? It's the DevOps is a process, right? It is a process. Developer and operation. This word is a process. The process in which developers build a software, or a software is built till when users are able to use it, both the software being monitored, the software being, improved. Basically, the whole tools, the whole process, the how is known as DevOps. Yeah.
All right, Favor, someone is raising their hand. Please, Mr. Tawhid, please go ahead and ask your question. The floor is yours.
Are you trying?
Yes, we can hear you.
My question is that as a data scientist or a data analyst, is it compulsory that you must use DevOps, and mostly nowadays jobs are repeating to mostly interested. Is either you have 0 to 1 year experience or above. So like what's the advice you can give someone that is like still starting out for maybe internship, or that is still learning more about data science or data analysis?
Okay, so if I get your question, you're asking if it is compulsory to use DevOps principles in data. And I think the
Yes,
second thing you said was I didn't get that actually. You were talking about job, years of experience. I didn't really get that.
yes,
Can you repeat yourself?
yes. I'm talking about internship.
Okay, what about internship?
So like most jobs that I've been seeing recently or that I'll be starting for, they're like
Okay.
asking for 0 to 1 year experience or above.
Okay.
So but as someone that is looking for an internship that does not have any experience with, like what is the advice you can still give the person, because the person is still learning, like he's still grounding on
Okay.
to become a data scientist, but he has like several certificates already. But it's like
uh,
still looking for an internship to gain more experience.
okay. So for your first question, in the data life cycle, some data scientists, most data scientists, they probably are using DevOps principles and they don't even realize it. It's not it's not rocket science. DevOps principles, applying it in data is not something that is misunderstood. It's basically the little things, the automation you do, the observability you do, the monitoring you do, those things you do. Yeah, you're already applying DevOps principles in your data lifecycle and you don't even know it. Some of you don't even realize it, but once you start applying those processes, you're basically doing data ops. Basically, as simple as it is. Also, if you're trying to get a job, maybe you don't have much years of experience, and the job you're searching and you're seeing a lot of you need, the criteria is having 2 years and above. I would just my Personally, my advice would just be to continue building projects. I mean, you can't go wrong with projects. As a person in tech field, someone in tech field, once you keep on building project, in fact, also open source too, there's something called open source. You can search for it on GitHub. You can contribute to projects, and those period of time are considered experiences for you. When you contribute to open source, it's an experience for you. So if you've not gotten what you want because of you don't have the years of experience, or as that's a criteria, just continue, build projects, contribute to open source, and one way or the other you would find what you're looking for, and you still keep on looking for the internship. I mean, the company you saw that needed that criteria is not the only company you in the world. So just
Yes.
keep on searching, yeah, putting in the work, doing projects, and also seeing where you can contribute, and you're fine.
Okay, thank you very, very much. But my the other question I have is that I know
Um,
about open source. I know about open source, and I have a bit of background that I did with my project most time. But I'm looking for a community where like people did on project work with real life data science. That was I'm like still looking for. Like, is there any opportunity like or any advice I can give about on that?
Are you a data scientist?
Yes,
You're in Christech, probably. Okay, just reach out to the founder, or you can actually reach out to me later on. And communities you can join, there are plenty. A lot of things you can do to put yourself out there. There are a lot of things you could also do. So you can just reach out to, I mean, this is a data community already, and if we're not yet
yes.
delivering what you want, as okay, the community, you can always reach out, so we can tune in our service to you personally on how you want us to serve you as a community. So just reach out and you're fine.
Thank you
all
very
right.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Miss Favor. Thank you, Mr. Tawhid. This has been very, very informative. Please, for every other person that has a question, because we're strictly on time and we have to wrap this up in 5 minutes, and we also have to hear a closing remark from our founder. So for every other person that has a question, you can always drop them in the community or reach out to the speaker directly, or reach out to anyone on the community, and they would, clear you on whatever you have as a question. I know there's a question in the chat from Mr. Austin. Please drop that particular question in the community, or reach out to Ms. Favor via WhatsApp or via email. I'm sorry we can't take that question for now because we have less than 5 minutes. So I'll just go ahead and welcome Mr. Christopher Oyeneke, our founder, our visionary founder here at Christech Analytics, to give us a closing remark.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And also thank you, Favor, for that amazing for this amazing session. You've really done well to explain how how you can use data in DevOps, and also how DevOps works in data. That was a very nice session. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for everyone that participated in this webinar, I also appreciate you all for being part of this webinar, and I believe that you've learned something from this. You've gotten something that would help you. You've gotten something that will really help you. There's something the speaker made mention of. She said, anytime you are working with data, the fact that data is everywhere, security is a very big concern. Security is a very big concern because data is actually everywhere. People bring out data, they give information every single day. Yeah. And I have a question to the house. I don't know. I have a question to the house. I feel like we've not really interacted with the house so much like that. So let's say you are the CEO of a company and your company generates data every day. Would you rather store your data in a cloud service, or you would rather have a data center, a physical data center to store all your company's data based on security? Because security is a very big concern now for most companies. I know of companies that they don't want to store their data in anybody's cloud service. They rather build a data center themselves and store their data because they don't want data leakage. They don't want their data to be seen by just anyone. Yes. So that's a question to the community. I'm not expecting responses now, but in the community you can answer the question. I would like to hear from everyone. And if you are not part of the community, yeah, maybe you just saw the link from someone's post on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn, you can join the community to learn more. Yes, we'll be having this webinar time to time. Okay, so because of time, I wouldn't say much or stretch this meeting any longer. So I appreciate everyone once again for being part of this webinar.